Joining us now, the national co-chair for the Harris-Walz campaign, Mitch Landrieu. Mitch, there's a lot of joy, a lot of optimism out of the box, and a lot of attacks coming from the Trump side. What's the campaign strategy to stay on track? And geographically, what's the plan?
Well, Mika, first of all, thank you so much for having me this morning. As you know, you saw the vice president and Tim Walz in Pennsylvania. You saw them in Michigan. You saw them in Wisconsin. And what you also saw were thousands and thousands of people coming to see them. So what has changed in the last 19 days is a lot of energy. Obviously, the fundraising numbers are through the roof, over $300 million. And, of course, a huge number of volunteers. And so nothing really beats organization and hard work. As you noted, the number of times that she's been to Wisconsin and to Michigan and, of course, to Pennsylvania. We also have been for a year organizing for this very moment because we know and we still believe this is a very, very, very close race. But you know what hasn't changed? Donald Trump. Donald Trump's still a convicted felon. He's still a sexual abuser. He's still unfit for the presidency. And he is really grabbing for straws right now and trying to find a way to make Kamala Harris and Tim Walz look bad. But they're having a hard time doing it.
So on the fronts of criminality, of being liable for sexual abuse, liable for fraud, convicted in the New York case, I guess a convicted felon. How much of a line does the Harris-Walz team want to draw on that on stage? I noticed the crowd usually starts chanting, lock him up, and then the candidates say, whoa, whoa, slow down.
Yeah.
So how do you define what is true about Donald Trump without then engaging in kind of drumming up behavior that perhaps we don't want to see on the campaign trail?
Well, I think the vice president did that yesterday. You know, she told the crowd that's fine, but that's what the courts are for, because we're the party, you see, that actually believes in law and order and the separation of powers and courts doing what they're supposed to do and making sure that nobody is above the law. However, the only jury that really matters right now, the only people that are going to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office are the folks that are out there today, and they have to go vote. This is going to be a very close election. Make no mistake about it. We're thrilled with the energy. We're thrilled with the money. We're thrilled with the volunteers, because this is a fight for the future of America. And the vice president has spoken to this eloquently with great joy, great enthusiasm. And so this race was about anarchy versus democracy, but now it's about young or old. It's about the future versus the past. It's about whether you want to live in a way that lifts other people up, which is our side, or push other people down. And the fact of the matter is Donald Trump's character is right where it needs to be, and people can never forget of all the things that have happened to him and whether or not he's fit for office. He also has a vice presidential candidate that's not right, he's not ready, and he's not real. And so I put Tim Walz and Kamala Harris against those two guys any day of the week.
So you mentioned that moment yesterday. I think it's worth taking a look at where she talks about some of the issues that will go to the courts versus the ultimate decision being made. Take a look.
As Attorney General, I held the big Wall Street banks accountable for fraud. Well, Donald Trump was just found guilty of fraud. 34 counts, to be exact. Here, hold on. Here's the thing. The courts are going to handle that. We're going to beat them in November.
So, Jackie Alemany, you know, we watched that, and then we also remember, and we'll probably see again, Donald Trump vowing to pardon criminals, especially those who rioted at our country's Capitol and vandalized it and injured people. And many, you know, there were people who lost their lives, and it was a horrific day. And yet the former president is vowing to set them free and calls them hostages. So that there again is another contrast.
Yeah. And Mr. Mayor, thanks for your time this morning. It is, I think we've sort of skirted some of the negatives about the Trump and J.D. Vance campaigns so far, because this week for Democrats has been, not to overuse this word, such a joyful one. But I'm wondering how much behind the scenes has there been thought and discussions about how to potentially handle a redo of 2020, where we're seeing the presidential nominee who lost the campaign challenge the results and start a coup at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Is that something that you guys are already, that lawyers on the campaign are already trying to come up with some sort of strategy towards?
Well, no, I mean, first of all, the vice president can handle this without much help. She's going to remind people that when Donald Trump was president, this country was in chaos. Everything Donald Trump turns to dirt. He turned father against son, mother against daughter. It was a terrible time. We went through one of the most incredible economic declines. And, of course, we had chaos with the way he handled COVID because he asked people to drink bleach. And she and President Biden had to pull everybody out of that and put us in the position that we're in. Now we have a very clear contrast between the past and the future about whether you want to go dark, which is everything Donald Trump does, or whether or not you want to have a future that's full of hope, optimism, and joy. I think is a great word, because you can see this in Tim Walz, and you can see it in the vice president. I think that you would agree with me that her presentations for the last 20 days have really been nothing but spectacular. And I think that she handled that crowd, the most important thing, with great judgment and great wisdom, and a thought that, listen, I have the character to be the president of the United States. So, yes, Donald Trump's team, every time he said something about a Democrat, they yelled, lock him up, they yelled, lock him up. But what she said yesterday is, we believe in a nation of laws where nobody is above the law, but let the court system take care of that. What I'm going to do is beat Donald Trump on Election Day, and what you need to do is go out and vote to make sure that he never gets within 100 feet of the Oval Office ever again.
National co-chair for the Harris-Walz campaign, Mitch Landrieu, thank you very much for coming
Great
on
to
this
be with
morning.
you. Thanks.